And a phone system was not meant to be here in a music radio station.
And certainly this station is not wired for audio and video outside of the radio signal.
Right.
So what Steve does every week is nothing short of miraculous.
Collusion.
And he's now testing to make sure that
the level's too high, right?
That the levels are too high, probably. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well.
So that's that. But at any rate, the point that I've been making is we've had 2 failures of systems administrators, one of them egregious, the other unforgivable.
Yeah.
Okay, it's egregious that nobody thought there's going to be more people on the Grindr server this week, but it's unforgivable that they took an untested... And it had to be untested. I mean, if anybody had tested this thing, they would have seen that the problem existed and not propagated it out. So it clearly was untested, and it clearly got put out on a Friday afternoon. What the heck were you people thinking?
No, it wasn't even Friday afternoon. It was Thursday night.
Well, it was Thursday night.
Because it was Friday morning. As I was going into work, I'm in the room getting ready to go out on the floor, and I see... Here they're showing people out in the West Coast going to the airport there expecting to go out on their flights.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Over 2,000 flights at 7 o'clock in the morning had already been canceled.
Yep.
And then they ended up canceling every flight that wasn't already off the ground.
Yep. And just trying to manipulate with the systems they had, getting those other planes to their destination safely.
Right. It was a real. Errors is so
that doesn't
mild a word for what they did.
Everyone's going to make a mistake. How they handle the mistakes is a big thing. And CrowdStrike, with their history of mistakes, something's really going wrong there.
Well,
yeah, if I were Microsoft, I might be rethinking our.
Well, that's why a lot of folks are rethinking as far as operating systems and everything else and moving away from them, just like we've said before. You know, why go Microsoft 365 when you can do, Google Docs for free and this other stuff, because the average person doesn't need all the templates and everything else, say like a lawyer does or that type of stuff. I can see it for them. But the average person, a simple spreadsheet or documents or doing a simple presentation, that's all in Google Docs, and it does a great job.
Right.
The Verge, on their coverage of it, they have a picture from the IT crowd. Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again? And apparently that's what fixed it.
Yes.
The servers couldn't auto-restart. You had to restart them manually.
Yep.
I wonder how many servers that was. 10,000?
Well,
20,000 around the world?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the problem. You were talking about propagating a thing, and that makes sense until you have to touch a physical switch. Mm-hmm. Then somebody's got to go there, and that means 10,000 people got to go there.
Yeah.
And if one guy's got 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 different servers scattered around the city, because that's good practice to not have them in the same place, not have them on the same network, et cetera, it also means instead of walking into one building and hitting 10 buttons, you have to drive to 10 different buildings. Yeah. And getting in and out of those buildings, since they're secure, is not a 2-minute job.
Yeah, and then the time to redo it, too. I mean, some systems,
And you got to stand there and wait for it to reboot just to be sure.
And that could, there you're eating up. It's just not instantaneous. I mean, that could take a good, 15, 20 minutes just to do a reboot and have it come back up and see that everything's working right, minimum.
Right. And the difference between that and the Grindr issue, if Grindr's on something like AWS, you just log into the console, to the dashboard, and say, give me more servers, give me more network, give me more whatever, hit the button, and you're done.
Aren't like big popular websites automatically do that when they need more?
Well, theoretically they do. Apparently Grindr doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, they know this comes every 4 years,
right?
And there's twice in the year that they do this. that, you're going to have massive crowds of people coming into town and doing this. So it's not something that, we caught you off guard.
Yep.
Well,
Hello, you knew about it. Matter of fact, I can tell you in 4 more years,
Yeah, it's going to happen.
they're going to be again.
But to be fair to the people at Grindr, whom I do not know, by the way, to be fair to them, the first time this happened was the last DNC convention.
Yeah.
So it didn't happen at the last RNC convention. It didn't happen at the DNC convention.
Both.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. But
Well, then in that case,
Well-
forget what I was about to say, because they should have beefed it up.
the one article I saw said that 2016, the Republican convention saw a 66% increase in traffic. The Democratic convention saw a 127% increase in traffic.
Wow, nice. So, yeah, look, and again, it's not about the sex and it's not about the politics. It's about the technicians who didn't do their job.
It's like that scene in Christmas Vacation when he plugs in his lights and all the dials at the power plant start screaming around and around and around. The alarms are going off, and I got to flip all these switches and bring on more generators.
Right. But in this case, they should have been prepared. Nobody knew the Griswolds were going to do that.
Yeah.
But everybody knew that there was a convention in town.
Well, it's just like no different out west when all of a sudden they get the heat waves and everybody starts cranking up their air conditioners.
It comes as a surprise every summer.
Yeah.
Every summer.
All of a sudden their houses are going black because, the power systems can't handle it because everybody's just cranking up that AC, and
Because it's not worth it to upgrade the power systems for the 50 other weeks in the year.
Right. And that's the issue. When it's more about money than people, you get the big difference is when Grindr goes out, people can't hook up. When Microsoft 365 goes out, people can't get their work done. When the power grid goes out, people die. It's a little bit of difference.
well, all all elective surgeries and they had to be canceled,
Right.
and
And you're probably on a 6-10 month waiting list for an elective surgery anyway.
Right. So it's a real issue that we have not solved in any way, anywhere. Some states do a pretty good job. Some states simply do not, and it baffles me that something as simple as, and I realize it costs money. But every time you spend money, there's kickbacks. So why aren't you spending the money?
But the thing of it is, though, and it's not like, anybody that's lived, say, here in New York State over the past, say, 30 to 40 years, if you haven't realized the way the weather has changed, I mean, I can remember back in the 60s that we used to have blizzards, folks, where we used to get 3 to 6 feet
Every week or two.
Every week or
of
two.
snow.
Yep.
I mean, the average snowfall was over 160 inches. And look at last year, we broke a record for the least amount of snow on record for Rochester, and that's the trend. Out west, they're getting more and more heat. Down south, the weather down there, Texas is getting hit with all kinds of storms and everything else. Something's cooking up with our system. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
I found an article in LA Times that California, where a lot of these rolling blackouts are common, excuse me, after last summer's heat wave, they bought 2,000 megawatts of batteries. So they could, because people often don't understand that with power. Electrical generators are generated on demand. Someone turns on their switch, a generator sends the electricity right to their light bulb right then.
right.
So if too many people turn on the switch, we got to ramp up another generator.
Right.
Well, okay, let's put some batteries in the middle. But then you've got the cost of the batteries. You've got the decay of the battery over time. Everyone on a laptop knows that their batteries don't hold the same charge over the years.
well, that's why solar panels, with the improvement of those, I mean, they're getting smaller, lighter, and more efficient. You don't need a whole roof full of panels. You can do probably half the roof and get just as much power, if not more, than your household needs. And
Especially
that's
out west
slowly the way we're going.
Yeah, especially out west where they don't have the as much cloud cover as we do here.
They don't have the cloud cover. They don't have the snow, so you'd have to clear off the things. There are places where solar doesn't make as much sense, but there are places where it really, really makes a lot of sense.
Arizona is going crazy right now with the Adobe, houses and that, as far as the roofs. They're throwing the solar panels up there, and that's helping cut their electric, so they don't have the blackouts.
It's almost becoming routine now with new houses to put solar panels on the roof.
And in a lot of places, what that means instead of evaporative cooling, which is inexpensive but not that great. Trust me, my daughter lived in Arizona. You can instead do regular air conditioning.
Yeah.
And that is much safer for people, which is the bottom line as far as I'm concerned, because people get heat stroke, people die from too much heat. So it's important to pay attention to that. And we have the technology. It's just not incredibly cheap, and in a lot of places we simply don't have the will.
Well, and there's a lot of it not in my backyard. They don't like the looks of it. And there's the question of the waste, that the solar cells will degrade over time, and then what are you doing? There was a story about wind turbine blades can't be recycled, so they just get buried. That
I don't
doesn't make any sense to me, but I haven't found any
right.
any specific.
What I don't know, excuse me, they sit there and complain about the wind turbines and that, but yet we can have extra towers for 5G networking all over this city because it's a line of sight, not as sufficient. And people don't complain about that.
Right.
Oh, got to have my cell phone service.
People don't look up most of the time. When they do, if they see a little thing, they ignore it. They see a big thing, then it bothers them. But yeah, there's wind turbines are very useful. Solar cells, very useful.
There are new technologies coming online, and I'm seeing reports from CERN, from CNN, from Energy.gov about new recycling methods for recycling them when they worn out.
Well, they got new, like I was saying, the solar panels. They've got shingles now that are. I've seen it advertised here that are solar panels. And, you can have your whole house resurfaced with new shingles, and they're
solar panels.
Solar panel. It's a little costly, but, in the long run, if you're not getting your RG&E bill jacked up all the time and, saving money that way.
I have a friend who lives in the middle of East Bumsford, and he's got solar panels on his property, and he runs his entire house and charges his wife's electric car.
Yep.
On it, and he runs his business out of his home, so he's got a shop that is running 15 hours a day the way he works.
We have several customers that put in solar farms for their business, and that's just cutting down on your commercial electricity bill is good.
Yeah, it is very good. And he put in a bunch of solar panels, and his wife convinced him to do it. He kind of grumbled about it, but he put them in, and now he's putting in more. All right, that music tells us our first segment is done, but there's another hour and a half of our show coming your way, so give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ, that's 966-5299, toll free 800-790-0415. We'll be right back with Dave Enright, Steve Ray, me, Nick Francesco, and you. 29 minutes after the hour, Soundbites member-supported Jazz 90.1.
It's America's longest-running computer show. Back to more Soundbites with Nick, Dave, and Steve. Next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carton. President Biden's camp is standing firm as calls are growing for him to exit the 2024 race. The New York Times says VP Kamala Harris told major Democratic donors, "We are going to win the election." Biden today released a statement that says he looks forward to returning to the campaign trail next week. His campaign manager said today Biden will be the candidate. 35 Democrats have now publicly called for Biden to step aside. Former President Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will hold their first campaign rally later today in Michigan. The indoor event will be held in Grand Rapids a week after Trump was grazed in the right ear by a bullet at a rally in Pennsylvania. Researchers at Oregon Health and Science University are working on a one-time flu vaccine. It creates an immune response against the flu. The one-and-done shot could be available in 5 to 10 years. Lisa Carton, NBC News Radio.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. This is Sandra Singlow with the Lowdown on Science. DNA is the molecular blueprint of life, so why not change it to our advantage? It's as easy as forcing two opposing magnets together. There must be a way. Enter the HerCheck lab from the Czech Academy of Sciences. Connecting specific charged molecules to our DNA can give us bacterial and viral protection. It's not a simple task. Attaching these molecules together is like connecting those magnets. First, they attached charged molecules to DNA building blocks called nucleotides using string-like molecules. They can even attach these DNA building blocks together to create whole segments of modified DNA. These segments of DNA have not been tested in our cells, but this data seems to show that we can modify DNA like this. Who knows? Researchers might be able to treat diseases with it. Goodbye, sick days. Hello, $6 billion days. Corny sound effects not included.
The Lowdown on Science is produced by LDOS Media Lab in partnership with the University of California Irvine Science Communication and LAist, and made possible with the generous support of the Fuse Family Foundation.
Ready to become a member of Jazz 90.1? It's easy to do, and it feels so good. Just call 966-5299. That's 966-JAZZ, or pledge securely online at jazz901.org. And remember to check if you work for a company that matches donations. This could double or even triple your pledge. Anytime is a good time to become a member of Jazz 90.1.
Jazz 90.1 is supported by our members and by Lifespan's Finger Lakes Caregiver Institute, supported by a grant from the New York State Department of Health. Lifespan assists families of individuals with Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia with care respite, consultation, support groups, and respite services. If you're a caregiver who needs help, or if you can volunteer to help a caregiver who needs a break, you may call 585-244-8400 or look online at lifespanrochester.org.
Possibilities are all around us. We see potential in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, vision, and connections, we turn great ideas into action. Together, we can make real change happen. We're Rotary. We are people of action. Get involved today at rotary.org/action.
Imani wouldn't be here if it wasn't for St. Jude. Everything was perfect until that day when she was 5 weeks old.
So there was a fairly large and aggressive brain tumor, but St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us the ultimate gift in this world, which was hope restored.
And she's tumor-free now.
We came as two desperate parents, and they saved our daughter's life.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Jazz 90.1 weather.
An absolutely spectacular weekend for Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes. A good supply of sunshine from hilltop to lakeshore here for your Saturday. The high temperature into the low 80s, maybe just a touch cooler by the water's edge of Lake Ontario with an onshore breeze. We'll look for the nearly full buck moon coming up here for your Saturday night. Still comfortable, the low 60 to 65. Clouds, times of sun, nothing more than an isolated shower for Sunday, the high near 80. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently, right now, we've got a few clouds out there. 80 degrees out at the airport and 85 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
This is Andy Hines. Join me tonight on Andy's Move from 9 to 11 on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 35 minutes after the hour, we are Sound Bytes. And you can give us a call at 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415. And while you do that, I'll read the next news item. Oh, where to start with Windows updates? They are time-consuming and can be disruptive, and they often introduce new bugs or cause systems instability, breaking previously working features or causing performance issues. Microsoft is seeking to address some of these complaints with its introduction of checkpoint cumulative updates in Windows 11. Arguably, they appear to be an improvement, but there are some potential drawbacks. Microsoft is saying that checkpoint cumulative updates for Windows 11 will be smaller, faster, and more sustainable, requiring no action from users or IT administrators. Basically, checkpoint cumulative updates allow for incremental differentials, meaning it builds on the previous checkpoint rather than including all the changes since the original release, an approach that will save time, bandwidth, and hard drive space for users and organizations, Microsoft says. So basically, instead of, say, replacing all of Office every time there's an update and downloading gigabits of data and then having to replace gigabits of data, it downloads the changes and sticks them in where they're needed. The process may involve multiple checkpoints during a Windows release life cycle, with the servicing stack merging all checkpoints and only downloading missing content. In other words, for most update management tools, the changes will be handled automatically by the Windows servicing stack. This is very much like what Linux does today. You update it and you just keep working, and you don't have to reboot. You don't have to do anything. Just say, yeah, go ahead, update in the background, leave me alone. The end result, Microsoft said, will be smaller downloads to Windows devices, more sustainable redistribution of updates within an organization, and a better experience for annual feature updates. But some users are already expressing concerns about the new process, especially as the technology is still new and not yet widely implemented. Also, administrators who source updates from the Microsoft Update Catalog will see a change in how updates are presented. Monthly updates may contain multiple update packages, one for each checkpoint plus an additional file with the cumulative payload for the latest checkpoint. These will need to be installed sequentially using existing deployment issues. So it's more of a pain in the neck for the systems administrator, which, by the way, on a home system is you. Another worry is that the CCUs, the cumulative checkpoint cumulative updates, CCUs, will add another layer to an already complex update system. It doesn't matter. For instance, it is conceivable that the new system might complicate the rollback process if issues arrive after applying an update. And there's always the possibility of conflicts between different checkpoint updates or with existing system configurations. These concerns duly noted, it appears that the benefits of smaller, faster updates outweigh the potential drawbacks, especially as Microsoft's goal is to make the transition as seamless as possible. Currently, this is implemented only in the Inside Dev channel in the Windows Insider Preview build, but if it's successful, you'll see it soon. To me, it sounds like what Linux has been doing for decades, which has worked out pretty well for them. Ready for a new update method? Give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415.
Yeah, and you can never win. There's always something will go wrong one way or the other. There was a critical OpenSSH vulnerability this week. So every Unix, Linux server needed to restart, update and restart. It was a regression error. They updated some feature and reinstituted an old bug that had already been fixed.
Right. But fixing that was easy. It was one file.
Yeah.
Install that one file. You may have to reboot. I did not, by the way. You may have to reboot, but you're done. You're done. It's one file. It downloads fast on any system. It installs fast on any system, and you're done. This is the sort of thing that Microsoft is looking to do. Linux updates happen very, very often, and this is true. But because they happen often, you rarely are bothered by long updates, long downloads, long update processes, and almost every update can happen in the background. You never even have to stop working. So if, for example, Chrome updates, well, you're going to have to stop using Chrome while that's updating, yes. Or you're using LibreOffice. You're going to have to stop using LibreOffice while it updates. But if it's updating something you're not using, you don't even have to stop doing what you're doing. And so the update methodology that Linux instituted, 45 years ago, longer, is now trickling down to Windows. I don't know what the Mac does for that.
Very similar to that.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I thought
it is Unix underneath.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you've got hundreds of little tiny services, each doing one specific thing, which makes it easy to fix that one little thing without messing up anything else.
Right. The only time you really have to reboot, and not always that with the new Ubuntu, I forget what it's called, but the only times you have to reboot are when you actually update the kernel. And I tend to update if it's a video driver, I tend to reboot, but you don't have to for that. I just tend to do it because I'm from the old days when if you didn't reboot, suddenly your system would be getting transmissions from Mars somewhere along the line. All right, to the phones. Our first caller is Fred from Henrietta, New York. Hiya, Fred. What's up?
Yeah, hi, guys. I wanted to know if you could tell me how to make a PDF that's in, right now it's in Google Drive, into a Microsoft Documents so you can edit it. I looked around and Adobe wants like your credit card and probably $10. I don't do it that much. And I wanted to know if there was a cheaper way to do it.
Well, if you're in Google Drive and you go to the File menu, you can say Download As, and one of the choices is PDF.
Are you trying to take a PDF and turn it into a Word file, or the other way around?
Yeah, that way, because I was told at the library, some librarian says, you can edit a PDF. My understanding is you can't, and I tried it and you couldn't.
You need a PDF editor to edit a PDF.
So you're trying to wait. Now I'm confused because I don't know which way you're trying to go.
PDF to Word.
PDF to Word,
or to an editable format.
Right.
That's entirely different. I'm sorry, I completely misunderstood.
And you're right that the Adobe Reader program is only a reader. There are the Adobe Pro program for $60 a month is the editor. There are some third-party PDF editing programs. I'm trying to find the one I use. I use one called PDF Expert. That's not as expensive as the full Acrobat suite. But I don't use it enough to pay for it, so I don't know it all that well.
Right. I do it maybe once or twice a month, if that. And they want, I think, $60 a month or something. Great if you're in business, but I think, wow, that's kind of bad news,
There's one from Canva. There's a website.
There's a website from Adobe that lets you do that, and it seems.
Let me see if that works.
Be at least a free trial, if nothing else.
Right.
So you upload. So now in that case, you upload the file to Adobe.
Check Foxit too, because Foxit will has an editor to it.
Well, and it depends if you just want to do simple typo spelling, or if you want to change a major block of it, as to what type of PDF editing you need.
Yeah, it's basically typo spelling and just a couple names.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Right. The Foxit PDF editor is not free. It costs $160. Oh, $120. You can get it for $130. Well, there you go. So maybe that's not the one you want.
I thought you could try it though for free.
Yeah, but if you're going to do it, a couple of times a month, at some point,
yeah.
they're going to stop letting you do that.
The Adobe one is pay. You get a free trial, and as soon as you try to type editing something, you have to pay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you have Word?
Or it's a it's a PDF on a Google Drive.
Right.
Do you have Microsoft Word available to you?
I can get it, yeah. Well, yeah, I can, yes. It's on my Chromebook, but I can get it.
Oh, you're in Chrome. Okay.
How did you get Microsoft Word on Chromebook?
He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it, but he can get it.
No. Or that I can go to the library. One or the other.
Right.
Canva says they have a free online PDF editor.
Right.
Let me try that. Canva is a well-known graphic program. Let me see how well it works.
Right. Yeah. Acrobat will do one or two. Soda PDF Online, Seja, DocFly. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, Acrobat will do it. It's really nifty. I put it up, and you just click it, and the cursor goes from left to right, and then it says it's all done. You owe us $4 or something like that. So
yeah, right.
Then you give us your credit card, and then you finish it.
Have you tried actually opening it? Oh, hi. How are you? Have you tried actually opening it with Google Docs?
Yeah, it's right. It's a PDF that they did for me at the library. They just sent me the PDF and they sent it to my email. But it came in as a PDF, and it's on Google Docs, right? But you go into it to try to change it, and it won't. You can't do it. It just doesn't respond. So then she said, well, the only way to do it is to transfer it to a Microsoft document and go that route.
Well, you would need a conversion program to convert PDF to doc.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So
that's what I'm looking for.
Well, not necessarily. You want a PDF editor. You don't need to convert it to Word.
Oh, PDF editor. Okay.
It's two different things. And the Canva PDF editor seems to work fine. I'm posting a link. I'm posting a link to it now.
So I just opened a PDF on my Google Drive by double-clicking on it. When I did that, across the top, there is a little button that says Open With. I click on that, and one of the choices is Google Docs. I clicked on that, it opened it, and anywhere that's actual text, I can edit. I can't edit the pictures.
Right.
So, for example, there's this giant header of, blah, blah, blah. It's a picture.
Mm-hmm.
But the text underneath it, I can edit. And you're saying that doesn't work for you?
Well, I didn't try that route. I didn't see that. So you go to PDF editor, and then at the top you say there's an open?
No.
Go ahead.
The document is on your Google Drive, correct?
Right.
Double click on it. It will open up as a PDF, but in the middle of the top, there's a little button that says Open With.
Okay.
And if you click the arrow next to Open With, you can open it in Google Docs. And it looks to me, at least at this point, like that's editable. Again, not everything is editable. The pictures are not. If the text is in a picture, like I've got a big header on this document that's clearly a picture, I cannot edit that. But all the text under it, although it all seems to be in either light gray or blue, I can select it and change the color to black. And yep, there's everything, and I can edit all of these lines. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, that's what I'm after, the text. I don't care about the other stuff. Okay, I'll go give that a shot. That's the top Open With, and then it goes from there. Okay, That's what I wanted to know. That's really good.
There you go. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I also have a little arrow next to the Open with Google Docs, and it says sending to third-party apps to sign and edit. Because a lot of times you get a PDF, it's a form you got to sign.
Right.
And most of the free PDF readers will do that for you.
Right.
To fill in the
form.
form.
But if what you're looking to do is actually edit the text, the Open With in Google Docs lets you just do it.
Yep.
So, yeah, that makes sense to me. PDFs were originally designed to be uneditable documents that you could send around and be sure that no one had changed them. Not so much anymore.
And you didn't need the original program,
right.
Expensive sometimes program, to see that file.
Right. Nowadays, apparently, you can just edit a Google Doc. edit a PDF in Google Docs.
Because the PDF format is so well known now.
Well, yeah, it's just it's simple and easy, and everybody knows it, like you said.
It's almost PostScript, which Adobe also built.
Right. It's almost PostScript. Yeah, it's very cool. We used to write programs in PostScript. You would write a program, send it to a printer, and get whatever picture you wanted. Nobody does that anymore.
Start at coordinate 26, draw a line to coordinate 712, and
right, exactly.
Yep.
I didn't say the program was easy.
Yeah.
Or not painful, but it was doable.
Yep. I wrote a total graphics program in Lisp once that did that.
There you go. Oh, Lisp would be a good language for that, actually. That makes sense to me. Anyway, for those of you who have PDFs you want to edit, and you're using Google Drive, Google Docs.
Which is free for the first 15 gigs, so if you're not using it, go ahead and start to see if it'll work for you. And
15 gigs doesn't sound like a lot, but it's certainly 3 times as much as anybody else gives you. And if you're good at managing your space, it'll last you forever. Also, the important part is if you actually save documents, if you write a document in one of Google's own formats, or you convert on upload for a Word or Excel or whatever, it doesn't count against your storage space. I have some 60,000 documents up in my Google Drive, and I'm using about 4.5, maybe 6 gig. And most of that is PDFs and a couple of programs and a couple of other things that I have up
It's
there.
silly not to, because even as a Google Doc, you can send it to somebody else that they don't know what program you use, because you can send it as a Word document or anything else, and they don't know.
Right.
Doesn't matter to them. As long as they can open it up and read it, that's all that counts, the bottom line. But yet you're saving on space and money.
Right, and you can download it as a Word document or a
PDF.
LibreOffice document or an RTF if you're still using one of those programs, a PDF, plain text, a web page. You can download it as an EPUB.
Mm-hmm.
So when you write that great American novel and you want to send it off to be published to any one of the ebook publishing companies, you can simply download it as an EPUB. And for those of us who are adamantly old school, you can download it as a markdown file. Yeah, baby. Markdown.
I like markup.
Yeah. So yeah, there are a lot of features in Google Docs that people don't really necessarily pay attention to. One of the really beautiful things about Google Docs is, of course, the collaboration, the ability to share with other people directly online.
And simultaneous editing.
So currently, and this is a very simple use of it, Steve and I are editing the same document of Soundbites callers. I type in who they are and what they wanted. Steve can then copy that for the YouTube description or whatever it's called. But he could, if we were working collaboratively on a document, we could open a chat session. We could video video conference with each other while we work on the document. It is quite amazing the capabilities that are there. And for those of us who are getting more and more severely arthritic as time goes on, one of the other things you can do is dictate to it. So I can say, it was a beautiful sunny day, period. The sun was shining, comma, the birds were singing, comma, and the owls were screeching, period. New paragraph. I enjoyed myself, that sort of thing. So it's real dictation, like, we used to do with secretaries. If you're watching a Cary Grant movie, the secretary's sitting on his lap, but I believe that's not de rigueur. I don't think that's a necessary part of it.
My wife was a transcriptionist for 30 years, starting in the Air Force.
There you go.
Medical transcription, which is even harder, because if you miss a syllable, kill somebody.
That's right. Exactly right.
Give them the wrong drugs. Yeah.
Playing with
Exactly right.
people's lives there.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, the features that are available in Google Drive, and let us not forget, people, Google Docs is free. All you have to do is have a Google email address.
Doesn't cost you
Which is
anything.
also free.
Which is also free, and which doesn't necessarily have to be the one you use every day. You can use that email address solely to log in to do your word processing and spreadsheeting. I use. Okay, so here's my story. My desktop died yesterday morning. I sat down to do the news, and my desktop died. I ordered yeah, no kidding. It's old, it owes me nothing, but I ordered a new power supply because I believe that's the problem. It's on a slow boat from China. It won't be here for another 3 to 5 weeks. But I also have a laptop. So I set up the laptop. I can get all my email on the laptop. I can get all my documents, my spreadsheets, my word processing documents, everything on there. All I'm missing are 1 or 2 small Python programs that I didn't back up last night when I wrote them.
Shame on you.
Yes. Shame on me. Yes. But because all of my stuff is in Google Drive, it was easy for me to set up my laptop, log into my Chrome browser as me, and everything was there. All my bookmarks, all my connections, everything. And that's one of the things I truly love about using an online service. Now, I use Google Docs. You may prefer to use Microsoft 365, although after this week, I don't know why, but you might also prefer to use iCloud or whatever. But the point is, using the online system makes you much less susceptible to the day-to-day problems of things like power supplies blowing. And like I said, everything that I do is up in the cloud. So while it is annoying and inconvenient, it is not in any way debilitating. I can still get all of my work done, all of it. It was just a matter of setting up Thunderbird and setting up and logging into Chrome, and I was up and running. I was done. I don't like the screen size. I much prefer. I'm old. My eyes are old. I'm fine. My eyes are old, so I prefer a bigger screen. I might have to plug that in later today, but I was able to get everything done I needed to do. So that's a cautionary tale for all you folks out there, to make sure that you're backed up constantly, and that anything you're doing that you can do online, maybe you should start thinking about doing it that way, because it will prevent you from having the kind of mental breakdown I almost had when my machine went out. All right, that music tells us the first hour is done, but do not despair. There's a whole nother hour of the longest running computer show in the known universe coming your way. That's more Dave Enright, too much Steve Ray, and not enough Nick Francesco. You can give us a call at 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415. Take a quick bio break. Get yourself a beverage of the adult or not variety. But don't go too far, because we'll be right back on the other side. See you shortly.
Computer talk you can understand. More Sound Bites is next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
WGMC Greece Rochester, a public service of the Greece Central School District, Jazz 90.1.
Celebrating 50 years on the air in Rochester.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carton. President Biden's camp is standing firm as calls are growing for him to exit the 2024 race. The New York Times says VP Kamala Harris told major Democratic donors, "We are going to win the election." Biden today released a statement that says he looks forward to returning to the campaign trail next week. His campaign manager said today Biden will be the candidate. 35 Democrats have now publicly called for Biden to step aside. Former President Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will hold their first campaign rally later today in Michigan. The indoor event will be held in Grand Rapids a week after Trump was grazed in the right ear by a bullet at a rally in Pennsylvania. Researchers at Oregon Health and Science University are working on a one-time flu vaccine. It creates an immune response against the flu. The one-and-done shot could be available in 5 to 10 years. Lisa Carton, NBC News Radio.
Jazz 90.1 is supported by our members and by Lifespan. Did you know June is Elder Abuse Prevention Month? Scams that target older adults are on the rise, and the consequences can be devastating. Lifespan helps older adults take on scams, fraud, and identity protection. If you've been the victim of a scam, or to schedule a presentation to your organization or group, you may call 585-244-8400 or look online at lifespanrochester.org.
The Jazz 90.1 Daily Club Calendar is brought to you in part by our members and by jazzrochester.com.
Here's another I Love New York travel tip.
A laugh-filled celebration of all things comedy is coming to Lucille Ball's hometown of Jamestown, August 1st through the 4th, the annual Lucille Ball Comedy Festival. Now in its 34th year, the festival brings together over 15,000 comedy fans from nearly every state in the country to share laughter at dozens of venues throughout the city, including the National Comedy Center and the Lucille Ball Desi Arnaz Museum. This year's festival, headlined by comics Jeff Ross and Nicole Byer, also features more than 50 live events and artists, including a reunion of the I Love Lucy Fab Four, starring Lucy, Ricky, Fred, and Ethel reenactors. For more information on the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival, visit the I Love New York website at iloveny.com. It's easy to love New York.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, there are a million reasons to share love. My buddy Caleb is one of them. This is his story.
Hi, I'm Caleb. I was born with spinal bone disease. I have broken my bones almost 200 times, and I have had 11 surgeries. But I didn't let that stop me.
There are a million reasons to share love, but you only need one. To learn how you can share love, visit loveshriners.org.
I'm Tiffany Haddish. And I'm Marlon Wayans. African Americans are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer than any other racial or ethnic group.
Access to cutting-edge treatment can help make long-term survival possible.
That's why Stand Up to Cancer and the Lust Garden Foundation have teamed up to bring over 30 pancreatic cancer clinical trials to those who need them.
For more information about the latest pancreatic cancer research and clinical trials near you, visit pancreaticcancercollective.org.
Did you know that when you make time to talk, read, or sing with your child, you're helping to shape and strengthen their brains for the years to come? As a father, helping my child thrive is the most important thing to me. Each of us has the power to create a strong start for our children and to help them enter school ready to learn and succeed in life, starting from the day they are born. Visit talkingisteaching.org for free tips, resources, and ideas on how to transform everyday moments into magical moments for learning.
Welcome back to America's longest-running computer show, Sound Bytes, on member-supported Jazz 90.1. Get online now. Call 966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 800-790-0415. Or submit your question by email at soundbytes.org. Once again, here's Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 5 minutes after the hour, we are hurtling headlong into the second hour of the longest-running computer show in the known universe. Sound Bytes, right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1. And you can give us a call at 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll-free 790-0415. When it comes to using an iPhone, there are several browsers to choose from, but the vast majority flock to either Chrome or Safari. It's a competition that is heated up in the midst of a complicated relationship between Apple and Google. While Apple's latest scary attack ad is not going to make that relationship any less complicated. While it doesn't overtly tell people to stop using Chrome, it is a rather blatant shot at Google's browser for the ton of tracking cookies it uses, claiming that Safari is a browser that's actually private. Currently, 30% of iPhone users are running Chrome as its default browser, and Google wants to up this to 50%. That would equate to another 300 million iOS devices. And in a time when keeping people loyal to apps is the most direct path to revenue, Apple does not want to lose this majority grip on iPhone browser usage. So the company seems to have hatched a plan to prey on the two key problems with using its competition: Chrome's hunger for tracking cookies and the fact that incognito mode is not actually private. These are things that Safari stomps out from the get-go, including preventing cross-site tracking by default and hiding your IP address, provided you have an iCloud Plus account, which means they have your IP address. That makes this fertile ground for Apple to advertise on and drum up fears about its main competition. A Google spokesrobot said Chrome is built with the goal of keeping your data safe by default and ensuring users can control when and how their data are used in Chrome to personalize their web browsing experience. We believe users should always be in control, which is why we've built easy-to-use privacy and security settings directly into Chrome. The browser war on iPhone is very much Apple's to lose rather than Google's to win, and Apple is going in hard on the weak spot of Chrome here. Current Chrome users won't necessarily be blind to these cookies, but may have come to terms with them and the subsequent risk. However, new iPhone users and those who weren't necessarily aware of just how much is learned about you through Chrome browsing activity may scare them into switching. Which browser do you prefer? Give us a call. 585-966-JAZZ. That's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415.
It's kind of like the ad that Microsoft puts up when you go to the Chrome download page on Windows.
Right.
Are you sure? Edge is really better.
Right. Really? Please use Edge? Please? Yeah. Right. Not using Edge. Although, let's be honest.
Edge based on Chromium.
It's based on Chromium,
now,
so it's better than it certainly used to be. And that's important, but it's still a Microsoft product. And yes, Google does have some tracking cookies, although they're changing a bit of that as well. The problem is Google's business is data, specifically our data.
Yep.
So yeah, I get that. Apple's business is hardware, and they don't, at least currently, make a great deal of money from your data. Although, that said, they're being a little disingenuous because if you have an iCloud Plus account, they have your IP address. They may not be sending it to other people, but they have it. And so that's on you as to, it really, and as always, and we've been saying this for 33 years, it's a game of who do you trust, right? Do you trust Google? Do you trust Microsoft? Do you trust Apple? Do you trust none of them? A lot of people are building their own VPNs, although I'm not. That's not a thing the average user is going to do. So it really becomes a whole game of who do you trust.
One of the issues in the iPhone world is that WebKit is the HTML rendering engine underneath everything in the OS. So even Chrome is just the Chrome skin on top of WebKit. It's not the Chromium _ engine. New version of iOS is being demanded by the European Union. They'll be able to change that rendering engine, but only in Europe.
Right.
So
right.
The conspiracists among us are going to say Apple's waiting to see how bad that works, so they can say, "Look, we were right all along. You put in third-party rendering engines, and people's get worse." Yeah, well, we'll see.
We'll see. And will they make it worse, or will it just be worse?
Yeah.
If you're a conspiracy theorist, go all the way, doggone it.
Yeah.
All right.
You believe in the moon?
Exactly.
Not just the moon is flat. Oh yeah, today's Apollo 11 moon landing day. ApolloInRealtime.org. You can follow along with the Apollo mission with transcripts and videos and whatnot. It's really cool.
Yeah. All right, to the phones. Our next caller is Scott from Webster, New York. What's up, Scott?
Hey, gentlemen. I'm primarily a Google Chrome user, but I did purchase an iPad for my wife last year, and she's just not into using that. And I'd like to have it converted to my Apple ID and my email. Is that something? I don't think that's something I can do. It
Sure.
seems pretty difficult.
You go into settings,
So how
Apple ID, and sign out. Then you sign out of her ID, and then you can sign back in with your ID.
Oh, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have her Apple ID, so I just sign out of that and then sign in with mine.
You will need her password because they want to
Yeah.
make sure it's her doing it or her agent doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
All right,
once you
good.
sign out of her ID, you can sign in to yours. Now, if you want to get sneaky about it, when you sign out of her ID, it'll ask you if you want to delete all her data, and you can say no.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you want to sleep with both eyes closed.
Wow.
Because it assumes you're doing it. Yeah, you, the owner, are
Oh.
doing it. The other thing you may want to do is do a full erase. That way, you can start with your own set of applications and not have to have any of hers either.
But first,
But I'd still have to. Yeah, go ahead.
what I was going to say, what you want to do first is make sure that she doesn't have any photos or any documents, somewhere else, because once you erase it, like we've said for decades, you erase it, it's gone. And especially on the photos, you ain't getting those back.
Right.
She probably has those on her iPhone, though, I would think.
Probably, yeah, but it wouldn't hurt to check. Settings.
Probably is not a good word.
You want to
in this
hear the
case.
words out of her mouth saying, yes, I've got them backed up. So then you get it in writing if you have to.
I'd personally go into, is it Apple Photos? What do you call it?
Settings, Apple ID, iCloud, backup.
There you
Make
go.
sure make sure backup is turned on.
Just to cover your butt.
Okay, settings, Apple ID, iCloud settings.
Yep.
And I'll post a link to that shortly.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, I thank you so much for that, but I still prefer my Chrome PC.
Yeah, well, no, everybody prefers what they prefer, and that's good.
It's a religious thing.
It's what makes horse
Yeah,
races.
no. Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. It would be a very dull world if everybody agreed on everything all the time. We'd be ants or bees if that were the case. Yeah. So it apparently is as easy now. So if he erases it, does he have to log out from his wife's ID first?
Yes, because that's one of the security and theft protections. So even if he erases it, it's still tied into her Apple ID.
Right.
So when he tries to use it again, he needs her Apple ID password. So it doesn't do any good to steal an iPhone or an iPad because you can't use it without the original owner's password.
Nice.
So
But
it
if
really
he
cut down on
signs out
theft.
first, then
Yes.
he can say, erase this
Yep.
device.
Erase all settings, and
Yeah.
it warns you like 3 times. Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Yeah, right.
which it should.
Right, and because of the picture issue.
Yeah.
Make sure they're backed up somewhere else, and make sure they're backed up in more than one place.
Mhm.
So if you've got them in your Apple ID online, you should have them on a thumb drive too.
Or in Google Photos or Amazon Photos or any of the other.
Right.
photo
At least a
service,
couple
yeah.
other places.
We've
minimum.
said this many times. If you're an Amazon Prime customer, whether it's because you like free shipping or because you like the video stuff, Prime Video, you also
the Boys season finale.
Boys season finale.
Ah.
If you have that, you also have unlimited photo storage available to you. Why are you not taking advantage of it? All you have to do is download the app, the Amazon Photos app, onto your phone or your tablet and sign in. And it will automatically back up all your pictures to Amazon Photos. And like I said, currently at least, that is unlimited free storage. Why are you not taking advantage of it? It's criminal not to. So either arrest yourself or get it done. While we go to the phones and talk to Bill from Greece, New York. What's up, Bill?
Hello, guys. Great show.
Thank you.
With all of these problems with the browsers, what are your feelings about the Tor browser?
Tor is Tor is for. Let me back up a bit. Tor runs on the Onion network. It is designed specifically to be super private and super secure. And so that's okay. It used to be the Tor browser was the thing you used if you were going to be stealing music or other stuff. Nowadays, people just want to be private. It's not about criminal activity. It's about being private, and that's perfectly acceptable. So the Tor browser will do that for you. So far, it seems that the Tor browser is exceptionally good at maintaining your privacy.
Except
the
CIA and other government agencies run Tor exit nodes.
Right.
So the idea of the Tor browser is your computer asks a server somewhere, I need to go to this website. And that server wraps that up in an encrypted package, asks another server, I need to go to this website, which then goes to another intermediate server, wraps that up in an encrypted package. So there's 3 hops along to get to the place you wanted to go, which means that nobody in the middle knows where you went.
Right.
Unless someone's monitoring the servers in the middle.
Right. And so you can never be sure quite where your Tor browser is going to go. That's why they call it the Onion network, because it has layers.
Like an ogre.
No, like an onion. Just go away.
Well, why would it not be recommended more if it's that safe?
Well,
it's significantly slower because you have to go
Right.
through 3 extra servers to get to where you're going.
It's slower, and it used to at least not be easy to use. It's getting easier. The truly privacy focused, not to say paranoid fanatics, but privacy focused people also run a Tor operating system. An onion aware operating system like Tails. So you're only half secure if you're running Tor on a regular operating system like Windows or Linux or the Mac. You're fully secure if you're running it on something like Tails. So most people you'll talk to about Tor will say, no, you must run it on Tails. You must run it on an onion-aware operating system. But if what you're really interested in is not having people know where you're going, then Tor by itself will generally work pretty well.
But then I guess that the reason it's not really popular because it's private is, as Steve said, it's significantly slower.
Yeah, it's slower.
And it doesn't have a good publicist. No, nobody knows about it is the other problem. But it doesn't come built into Windows or Mac. You ask people what browser they're using, and they don't know what the browser means. I click on the blue E. Is it the blue E or is it the red fox or yeah?
Right.
And the other thing that we see, especially on TV commercials, is companies hyping VPNs, and you should buy our VPN to be safe on the internet. VPN doesn't do that. The VPN hides where you go from your internet provider, but the VPN provider knows everywhere you went because they take you there. So backing up a step, your internet provider knows every website you go to because they took you there. They may not be able to read the content because virtually everything is encrypted these days. Thank you, Snowden.
Right.
But they know where you went to, and internet providers are selling that data to data aggregators. So if you use a VPN, your internet provider doesn't know where you go, The VPN company does, and they sell that data to data aggregators. So the hype of a VPN doesn't do what they say it does.
Right, but Tor does.
But like Nick, you are security conscious.
Yes.
What browser do you use?
It depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going. If I'm doing something as simple as writing the news for this show, I just use Chrome to go to Google Docs because A, it's secure enough for me in that instance, and B, I'm not doing anything that I care if anybody knows about. I'm going to read the news on the air, for heaven's sake. But I do use the Tor browser. I have used Brave when I want to be semi-secure. I've used DuckDuckGo as my search engine. And you can download the Tor browser just like you can download any other browser. Just go to torproject.org, and you can download the browser for Windows, Mac, or Linux, or indeed Android. And you can run the Android version on your Chromebook, of course. So it's pretty much available for dang near anything you would want to put it on. It's just, again, it's going to be slower.
And a lot depends on what threat you're trying to stop.
Right.
If you want advertisers to stop tracking you, that's virtually impossible. You can run an ad blocker, but then most websites you go to won't let you in if you have an ad blocker running. If you're trying to stop people from knowing where you geographically are, then a VPN could work because you can say I'm in London. So the threat matrix is vast, and the threat you're trying to protect yourself against each has different solutions.
Right.
But okay, I recently had my credit card stolen, and my bank called me and said, "Are you buying all this stuff out in San Francisco?" And I said, "No, I live in Rochester." If I use the Tor browser, would that be some protection against that?
No.
Probably not.
Somebody got your credit card number somewhere.
Look,
from any
right.
vendor you purchase something from,
right.
could have been breached.
Two things. First, every day we hand our credit cards to the lowest paid employees in the world. And in addition to that, if somebody's going to steal your credit card, they're probably going to do it by breaking into one of the companies you give your credit card number to. They're not going to get it from you or from your browser. They're going to get it from the other end.
Right. And credit card numbers are algebraically create. That's not the right word. There's an algorithm to create credit card numbers in the checksum. And the three-digit code on the back all gives you a checksum to say if this credit card is valid or not. Well, I can have a computer generate random numbers that will be valid credit card numbers, and they don't care who it belongs to. It's a valid number. I'm going to use it.
Right. But yes, so your credit card was probably not stolen through you using it through your actions online. It probably was stolen by someone breaking into the other end, whether that's your bank or the store you use the credit card at, or whatever.
The credit card processing company. That's how the big Target breach was.
Mm-hmm.
The company that handled their credit card processing. Every vendor has a credit card processor, and there's thousands of them. That companies are a rich target because of all the credit cards they handle, and so they're prime for attack.
Yeah, so it likely wasn't anything to do with you specifically.
And there's virtually nothing you can do to stop it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for all the information.
Yeah, sorry. But
unfortunately, that's kind of what we've run into now.
Right. But like I said, if you want to run the Tor browser, it's not a bad thing. You just have to understand it's going to be somewhat slower. And you can get it at torproject.org /download, and you can download it for Windows or Mac or Linux or Android.
Yeah, I think it's in one of my Linux repositories.
Probably. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thanks, guys. Great show.
Thanks.
There was an old adage, even before the days of virtually everything's encrypted, that anything on the internet is public and someone will find it. And that pretty much holds true today. No matter what encryption there is, It can get broken no matter what passwords you've used. They get breached somewhere. The biggest issue we're seeing online is password reuse. And companies like Have I Been Pwned will track breaches and let you know if your email address has been seen in a breach, but never use the same password on more than one website. Because when that website gets breached, and they probably will, the bad guys will take that password and try it everywhere else because they know people reuse passwords.
Right.
And eventually they'll get into some place. And it's not a person doing it, it's a program doing it. So they can try thousands of combinations a second until they get into a login success, and they say, okay, let's check the credit card numbers and start buying stuff on their money.
Right. So yeah, and yes, in many Linux repositories, you can download the Tor browser bundle, which is verifiers and all kinds of little bits and pieces as well. So yeah, that's available in a lot of distributions. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Dave from Canandaigua, New York. What's up, Dave?
Oh, well, I just thought I'd jump in and say hello, and a couple of things about the VPNs. Some VPNs are actually secure in that they don't actually record anything. So, I mean, they would have to actually intervene while you're connected to a particular site.
And most of those you have to pay for. I've heard good things about ExpressVPN. If you're not paying for the VPN service, they're getting their money somehow else.
Yeah.
And I know ExpressVPN has been audited. That's the other half of it. They can claim anything they want, but if there's no proof about it, their claims mean nothing.
Well, right. But have they failed the audit though?
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, so, you can say, I'm ISO 90 whatever certified. I failed, but I'm certified.
right. It's certified that I failed.
Yeah.
The other thing to do with credit cards is that some companies will issue what they call a virtual credit card.
Right.
So you have your basic card, and then you have additional numbers that are assigned. So if you're going to a website that's kind of questionable, you use a virtual card number, and if it turns out to be trouble, then they just shut that number off, but you don't have to replace your actual physical card.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons that I tend to use my phone.
Yeah.
For almost everything.
Google Pay and Apple Pay. I think Samsung Pay too.
I think Samsung Pay. But what they did, they issue virtual credit card numbers all the time.
Every time you make a transaction.
Right. So it's a different credit card number. It's a different number.
Yeah.
Oh.
So by putting it on my phone, whether I'm using PayPal or a credit card, for example, when I buy gas, we've all seen the stories on various news things where there's this fake thing that
the skimmer,
the skimmers and the card readers that
they read your numbers and watch you type your PIN.
Go ahead, because that number only exists for 30 seconds and then it is done.
Yeah. Sends a random credit card number for each transaction.
Right.
So when the other end gets breached, your credit card number is nowhere to be found.
Right. So I tell people more to use something like that. It means learning to use the near field communications stuff on your phone, but it keeps you much. I rarely pay even with my credit card anymore.
And so many vendors have it. No.
Tap and pay.
Tap to pay.
Any place you can tap to pay.
What's interesting is some of the places that don't take it. Now, Walmart has their own service called Current C, with a capital C,
right,
where they want direct access to your checking account.
Right.
So that failed. So they don't take Apple Pay or Google Pay.
Right. But for most places, you can't. What annoys me is when you hold up your phone, they immediately say Apple Pay. I've just learned to say yes. It doesn't matter. Fine. I don't care. We're going to take a quick break. Back in just a couple of minutes with Dave Enright, Steve Ray. Dave, do you want to stay on the line or are you done?
I'm done.
You're done. Thanks, Dave. Back in just a couple of minutes with Sound Bytes right here on member-supported Jazz 90.1. See you on the other side.
Online serving 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at soundbytes.org. More with Nick Francesco, Dave Enright, and Steve Ray next on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carton. President Biden is self-isolating with COVID in Delaware as pressure mounts on him to drop his re-election bid. Jen O'Malley Dillon of the Biden campaign pushed back against reports that the president was considering exiting the race.
I'm not here to say that this hasn't been a tough several weeks for the campaign. There's no doubt that it has been. And we've definitely seen some slippage in support, but it has been a small movement.
The campaign insists the president will remain in the race. However, members of his family are said to be discussing a possible exit. Nearly 36 congressional Democrats have called on Biden to step aside. Former President Trump will hold his first rally today since last week's assassination attempt. Trump will be joined by running mate J.D. Vance at a campaign event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which will also be his first as a GOP nominee for president. Heavy security is in place for the indoor rally. Lisa Carton, NBC News Radio.
Early blight is a common tomato disease that infects the leaves, stems, and fruit. This fungus is most prevalent during warm, wet weather. Hi, I'm Melinda Myers, horticulturist and gardening expert. Early blight first appears as brown spots with dark concentric circles on lower leaves, then spreads up the plant. Badly infected leaves eventually turn yellow and drop. Minimize the risk by growing blight-resistant or tolerant varieties. Ask your local extension service for a list of disease-resistant tomatoes suited to your climate. Further reduce the risk by keeping plants healthy and properly fertilized. Rotate plantings if possible. Properly space and stake or tower the plants to increase airflow to help reduce the risk of disease. Mulch the soil, water early in the day, and if possible, apply the water directly to the soil with a soaker hose or watering wand. Check out our website for this and other gardening tips. Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by Summit Responsible Solutions, a manufacturer of organic, all-natural mosquito control products under the Mosquito Dunks brand name. Mosquito dunks can be used in ponds, bird baths, rain barrels, or wherever water collects. Non-toxic to people, pets, fish, birds, and other wildlife, mosquito dunks are available at local and national garden centers everywhere. Information on how to control mosquitoes can be found at summitresponsiblesolutions.com. Jazz 90.1 is supported in part by our members and by animal repellent Plant Skid. It's organic and safe for use on fruits and vegetable gardens, as well as trees, shrubs, and flowers. Plant Skid uses odors associated with predators, encouraging animals like deer, rabbits, bulls, elk, moose, chipmunks, and squirrels to dine elsewhere. Information on how to protect plants from animal damage can be found at plantskydd.com. That's plantskid.com.
Are you thinking of adding a pet to your family? Greece Residents Assisting Stray Pets, or GRASP, is committed to reducing the number of homeless pets by placing dogs and cats into compatible, loving, permanent homes. For more information on how you can give a homeless pet a second chance through adoption, visit graspinc.org. GRASP, striving for the day when every dog and cat will live in a loving, safe, and healthy home.
And now, your Jazz 90.1 weather.
An absolutely spectacular weekend for Rochester, Western New York, and the Finger Lakes. A good supply of sunshine from hilltop to lakeshore here for your Saturday. The high temperature into the low 80s, maybe just a touch cooler by the water's edge of Lake Ontario with an onshore breeze. We'll look for the nearly full buck moon coming up here for your Saturday night. Still comfortable, the low 60 to 65. Clouds, times of sun, nothing more than an isolated shower for Sunday, the high near 80. I'm meteorologist Josh Nichols for Jazz 90.1.
And currently right now we've got fair skies, 81 degrees out at the airport and 88 here at member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Hi, this is Otto Bruno. Join me every Sunday from 12 to 2 on member-supported Jazz 90.1.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nick Francesco.
I'm Dave Enright.
And I'm Steve Ray.
And at 34 minutes after the hour, we are Soundbite.
And the buck moon.
And the buck moon.
What is a buck moon?
Every month has a name for them.
Has a name, and this is the buck moon.
Buck moon. We're at 99.1% full.
Yep. So it's still waxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 6:17 a.m.
Yep.
Will be full moon, so get up and dance naked around the campfire.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
For heaven's sake. So, all right. I was about to make a very rude joke, and I will not. Rite Aid.
Yeah, this is family radio, and I'd hate to have to dump you.
Yep. Rite Aid, the third biggest U.S. drugstore chain, speaking of, this segues right after what Dave was talking about, or Bill, rather. The third largest U.S. drugstore chain said that more than 2.2 million of its customers have been swept into a data breach that stole personal information, including driver's license numbers, addresses, and dates of birth.
Hey, that's enough to sign up for a credit card somewhere.
Exactly right. The company said in mandatory filings with the attorney generals of states including Maine, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Oregon that the stolen data were associated with purchases or attempted purchases of retail products made between, are you sitting down? June 6th of 2017 and July 30th of 2018. Yes, that's 6 years ago, and we're just finding out now. The data provided include the purchaser's name, address, date of birth, and driver's license number or other form of government-issued ID. They say no social security numbers, financial information, or patient information were included. Ransom Hub, the name of a relatively new ransomware group, has taken credit for the attack, which it said yielded more than 10 gigabytes of customer data. Ransom Hub emerged earlier this year as a rebranded version of a group known as Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T. According to security firm Checkpoint, Ransom Hub became the most prevalent ransomware group following an international operation by law enforcement in May that took down much of that infrastructure used by rival ransomware group Lockbit. On its dark website, Ransom Hub said that hi, how are you? On its dark website, Ransom Hub, cheese and crackers.
You're having a rough day.
It's a day. Ransom Hub said that it was in advanced stages of negotiation with Rite Aid officials when the company suddenly cut off communications. A Rite Aid official didn't respond to questions sent by email. Rite Aid has also declined to say if the employee account compromised in the breach was protected by multi-factor authentication. Rite Aid is a defendant in several lawsuits stemming from a separate data breach in May of 2023. The earlier breach exposed patient names, date of birth, addresses, prescription data, and insurance data for more than 24,000 customers. Rite Aid had previously reported breaches in 2015, 2017, and 2018.
Maybe that's why they're not around here anymore.
Yeah. When was the last time you changed your passwords, by the way? Just while we're on the subject, give us a call, 585-966-JAZZ. It's 966-5299. Toll free 800-790-0415.
There's no honor among thieves.
Right.
In the ransomware business, every time some ransomware group gets taken down by authorities, one or two of them are always missed, so they go start a new company. And there's been a new trend called ransomware as a service. So if I want to attack someone, I don't even have to have any knowledge or skill myself. I hire someone else for the ransomware, and I'll give them 10% of the ransom.
Right.
Turns out, a lot of these ransomware companies don't give up the fee that they keep all the money themselves.
Right.
And then disappear.
Right. And they don't unlock your data.
And don't unlock your data.
Yeah.
And so if you hired them to do the ransom, they don't give you any of the money, and then the 10 of them disperse and make 10 new companies.
Right. And again, yes, you lose, these companies lose a lot of data, but there's no reason to pay the ransomware because A, half the time you're not going to get it back anyway, and B, if you've got a backup, you don't need their data.
Yeah.
You don't need them to unlock your data. You just restore from backup.
And a lot of times what we're seeing is through the government, I'm posting a link from the Cyber Information Security Agency. They look into the big ransomware attacks, and what we're seeing a lot of times is the code is bad, that making the ransom, and
right.
the good guys can figure out the decryption keys themselves,
right,
but not always.
Who was it who was giving away free decryption keys?
Yeah, there was one ransomware company that shut down. They said they made enough money. We made $300 million. We're going to retire to a beach somewhere. Here's all the keys.
Right.
Nice guys.
Nice guys.
But then 3 or 4 of them didn't retire and started new companies.
Right. But yeah, it's so many problems are solved by backups. So many problems are solved by backups. And it just takes so little time to make a backup. You know, if you're doing it regularly. That first time is going to be a doozy, but if beyond that, it's pretty easy to do backups.
One of the things we're seeing is the so-called now advanced persistent threat. Somebody gets into a company, they don't ransom it immediately. They'll wait 3 or 4 days, a week, a month. In the Sony hack, it was 6 months. In the Marriott Star hack, that was 6 years they waited.
Yeah.
And so all your backups are now encrypted with the ransomware too.
Right. But for the average user, particularly if you make offsite backups semi-regularly, you should be in better shape. Run an antivirus program, run an anti-malware program, and do
for God's sakes,
backups.
don't fill out forms on Facebook.
For heaven's sake, do not.
Your mafia name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the name, your mafia name is your mother's maiden name and your first pet.
And then,
really?
Yeah.
And a Nigerian prince is not going to give you $100 million.
Neither is Bill Gates. Neither is Elon Musk. Neither is Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, there was a story about a Nigerian man found dead in his apartment with millions of dollars. and all the captions were, well, he tried to give his money away, but nobody believed him.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so be aware that you are vulnerable, and not necessarily through your own lack of effort. Right? You know, there are breaches that happen that are beyond your control. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be taking precautions, because so many of them happen locally. So many of them happen when somebody says, here, let's click here. You've got a problem. There's a problem with a thing you ordered. Or we're about to deliver this $700 item. If you didn't order it, click here. Do not click here. Do not click here.
McAfee says you have a virus. Call this phone number.
Right.
No, especially if you don't own McAfee.
Right.
Yeah, no,
right.
We had one come in and wanted to get a bunch of high-end credit cards.
Yep.
And we said...
Gift cards.
Yeah. And we said... No.
Right.
And had to pull her aside and explain.
Yep.
There is no legitimate company on this planet that will accept gift cards as payment for anything.
Especially from a competing company.
Unless it's their gift card.
Especially when it was the IRS taking Target.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we've started seeing now at most gift card kiosks, they now have big signs up. Gift cards are for gifts. If someone is asking or demanding payment in a gift card, they're probably scamming you. And before that, it was money orders.
Right.
We'd heard from several people that worked at like Walmart and Target that ran out of money orders because so many people were coming in for the scam. We've had people come into our store with thousands of dollars in Apple gift cards saying, can I return these to you? And no, because they're empty.
Right.
Because the bad guys get you to buy the gift cards, read the number off the back, just like your credit card. Bad guy doesn't need your physical credit card, just needs the numbers.
Right.
Yep.
Once you give them the number, they drain the gift card. You're done.
Before that, it was phone cards. Remember phone cards?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
Before, so there was one scam where they would sit like across the parking lot or something with binoculars and watch you type your code into the phone. And then before you finished your call, your credit was gone.
Yep. Yeah. So you can't prevent all breaches, but you can prevent a lot of them by using your common sense.
Some
which is
due
so
diligence.
uncommon.
Yeah, due diligence.
And just because you're in the privacy and security of your own home doesn't make these guys knocking on the door. If they knocked on your physical door, you wouldn't believe them. When they're knocking on your computer door, don't believe them either.
And especially, these banks and everything else, you still 99% of the folks own a phone. They can look up on the back of their card for their bank the phone number.
Yep.
Call them and talk to a live person. I don't know of any bank around that don't usually have, if you call a local branch that doesn't have human beings there that'll pick up the phone and answer your questions. If you give them the proper information, say like social security number and everything else, that they can then go in and check your account, they'll gladly do it. They'd love to. They'd rather have you do that than fall to some scam that then they got to turn around and try to straighten out for you, causing you a lot of headache.
And if and maybe not today because maybe they're closed by the point you get to them, but on Monday morning, call your real bank or go to your real bank and ask them what their website is. Set yourself up for online banking.
So you don't click the link in the scam email.
And then never click the link in the scam email.
Never.
Go to the place you bookmarked because the bank told you what the real address
and
was.
typed it in, yes.
And I promise you, if the email you got was real, there will be a notice on your screen. I promise you that. And if you don't see that notice, it's a scam. Just delete the email.
There's been a surge lately in fake did you purchase text messages.
Yep.
Because a lot of banks offer the service of warning you about purchases, and you get a text message. We run into that a lot in our store because people are buying expensive computers. It's often blocked, and they have to go into their app. And please have your app set up ahead of time. They have to go into their app and say, yes, this is me. Otherwise, you got to call the phone number and say, yes, this is me. But people are getting fake text messages, and they either click the link or they say yes, and the next message is, all right, what's your credit card number so we can reverse the charge? And you give it to them because you think you're talking to your real bank. No, that's
the thing. And if it's your real bank, they already have your credit card number.
Yeah.
They don't need it again.
They just told you something was being charged on it.
Right.
Because basically, folks, here's the bottom line. These pirates, what they do is they go to the actual, say it's a CMB or whatever website for that bank, and they take a picture of it. Mm-hmm. And then they can go back to their computers and copy all those logos and everything else to make it look as official as all get out. So that when you click on it, you would swear on a stack of Bibles that you clicked on your bank's website.
Because it had the right logo on. Some of them is just the logo. Some of them go a little farther and try to mimic the whole look of the bank.
But like you have said, though, Steve, a number of times, they don't look up at the toolbar of the website and what it ends in. And if it ends in RU, gee, I don't think you're in Rochester anymore.
Yeah, it's not the Rochester Union.
Yeah.
It's Russia.
There was a recent one that was targeting Eastman Savings and Loan, and it wanted you to click on the link to lordvano.com, which then takes you to secure.xyz/ESLFCU. Well, that's Eastman Savings and Loan Federal Credit Union, so that's right, isn't it? And it had the ESL logo on it. And that survived for a long time. It's down now, because typically when these fake postings get reported, the websites get taken down pretty fast. But who runs XYZ.com?
Right. And yeah, it just, again, due diligence. It just takes a minute to check. And when you do that, you're ahead of the game.
But they panic you. And so you in your panic, oh, no, that's not mine. I better tell them that's not mine.
Right. All right, back to the phones. Our next caller is Fred from Rochester, New York. What's up, Fred?
Hey, guys. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Just, kind of throw that out there that you're talking about scams. I've gotten quite a few email scams, all the antiviruses.
Right.
Yep.
Norden, N-O-R-D.
Right.
All that. And I found if I'm looking at it with my laptop or my PC, with a Chrome browser, they're looking at my email. There is a report as phishing.
Right.
A lot of stuff already goes to scam, or not the scam, but the spam folder.
Mm-hmm.
But some of it that's may slip through, you can report as phishing, not just report as spam, but report as phishing.
Right.
And I'm hoping that Google is doing something to affect change.
Google is one of the better companies at scanning and blocking bad stuff. In general, in your email, I have found that all of my Gmail addresses are pretty clean. All of my non-Gmail addresses get spam constantly. That's clearly being blocked by Google.
Right. I'm just saying that there's been about 2 or 3 recently, but I reported them by clicking on the 3 dots.
Right.
Going down below where it says report as spam, but report as phishing.
Yep.
Right.
Is that actually helping anything?
Yes, very much so. Google aggregates all of those reports. It works like anything else. One report could be a disgruntled jerk. 2,000 reports, probably it's real.
Yeah.
So they aggregate them all and deal with it that way. And this is on the website, right? This is on through your browser.
Through my browser, but not on my phone app.
Right. So for those of you who are listening and you're trying to find that, it's in the browser. It's when you go to your Gmail through your browser that you can do that.
Right. I use the Chrome browser, and because I'm logged into Google, it automatically gives me the options to select any my Google services. And opening the email there, I can report phishing.
Also,
I wish it was that easy to do with my phone, but
right.
On my iPhone, I've seen if most of those phishing messages come from unknown senders, and so when I go to delete that conversation, it asks if I want to report it as spam.
Right, you can do it at that point, generally speaking.
Yeah, reporting it as spam is one thing. I want to report it. This isn't just spam.
It's worse than spam. Yeah.
Exactly.
The problem becomes.
What I've noticed is they've all been with a Gmail return address. So and so company, certain person, whatever name, at Gmail. And I'm going, don't think so.
Well, because Gmail addresses are free to get, so they're easy to get.
Right, yeah.
But most of the time, the bad guys will use someone else's email address, because there's billions of email addresses already leaked, so they can do that. And then the other problem is that most of the bad guys are not in the U.S. So Microsoft did this a couple of years ago, but Google, Microsoft, the vendors, they have to go to the FBI, who goes to the Interpol. Who then in this one case I had read about, Interpol went to the Indian government, who went to the state in India where the scammers were, and got the local police to arrest the scammers.
Wow.
So
that's pretty neat.
Finding them is the big problem, and then getting through all the jurisdiction to report. And then for a day there was a lull in spam until the people they didn't catch started up again.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, but it does help every time you report spam or phishing attempt. It definitely helps, Fred.
Okay. I just, because it took me a minute to find that. I had Googled it and then I looked on my app and it wasn't there, and I thought, well, maybe it's on the browser when I use the PC or the laptop. And
and there it was.
There was, but. And there's a kind of a side note, speaking of PCs and laptops, I had absolutely no problem running Linux during the outage.
Yeah. Yep. As long as you weren't running Microsoft 365, you were good.
No, I don't even own that. My work uses it. And, the good thing, thank you Microsoft, I had a half day's vacation, a half day off with pay. But we couldn't do anything.
Right.
My employer is quite generous, and she said, just, everybody just leave and I'll cover it.
Which is crazy because I've read so many stories about companies that wouldn't close just in case it came back in a minute.
Right.
And so they ended up paying employees to stand there and do nothing.
Right.
Yeah, well, I told her, I said, you're more generous than I would be. I told everybody to pick up a broom. Many thousands of square feet don't
if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean.
Right.
Exactly. I love it. All right, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you, Fred.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
You too. Keep smiling, my friend.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it's, you're right. There, when something like this hits, you don't know how long it's going to last. But, in hindsight, you say, well, yeah, clearly it's going to be down for at least a day. But you don't know how long it's going to last in general. But, yeah, again, we harp on this a lot, but so many people call up with problems. Pay attention to what you click on. Use a little common sense. You don't even have to use a lot. Don't strain
Slow
yourself.
down.
Just a little bit of common sense. And like we said, go to your bank and all the places you have money and get the real email addresses. Get yourself set up for online banking. If you're a PayPal user, you need to bookmark PayPal. You need to bookmark your bank. And when you get something like that, don't click on the link. Go to the bookmark that you know is good.
Because there's an attack that's been called the homograph attack, where PayPal, P-A-Y-P-A-L, they'll use, say, the Greek A.
Right.
Which looks very close to an English A. But to the computer, it's a completely different site.
Right.
Or they'll use a capital lowercase L instead of a 1 instead of an L or an I.
Right.
And so it looks like it says PayPal.com, but it isn't.
Well, people are in such a hurry, they just click, as I've said for decades, click happy.
Right.
And they boom, 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 boom. They got to do that. They just go into a panic and don't take a breath and actually see what's on their screen and think about it.
Thank you for your order of $17,000.
Yeah.
If this was an error, click here.
Yeah.
Holy crow, I better click there because I don't want to spend $17,000.
I better tell them they're wrong.
Yeah.
I want to be nice and tell them they've got the wrong person.
Right, exactly. It's nice to be nice, but not when you're on the internet. All right, that music tells us we are done for another week. I want to thank everybody who called in. Great questions this week, great discussions. I want to thank Dave Enright. I will thank Steve Ray. I'm Nick Francesco. You've been listening to The Longest Run. Poor Steve. I abuse him every week and he just smiled. We're...
They're my camera.
Right. We're done for another week. So if and of course you can join us tomorrow night in the Soundbites Lounge. Just go to soundbites.org/lounge at 9 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday evening, and you can join us for an hour of face-to-face discussions. It's going to be kind of fun. But this is it. We're done for another week. Be good to one another this week, will you? We will see you in just 166 hours.
Stardate July 20th.